Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Garg from Lifestyle and Family Medicine, and I recently gave a talk at a health fair on managing diabetes with lifestyle choices. And so it was very well received, and I wanted to be able to record it while it was still fresh in my mind so that more people can benefit. So this is such a crucial topic. Even if you do not suffer from diabetes, it's still important to learn how to prevent it, and you can do that with lifestyle choices. Also, if you know anyone in your family with diabetes, you can help support them with enabling their appropriate lifestyle to help manage their diabetes. Everything I'm going to tell you today is strictly evidence-based. There is a strong scientific foundation and basis for every single recommendation I give you. Everything in lifestyle medicine, which is the field that these tips are going to be coming from, is entirely evidence-based. And it's really important to note that, for example, lifestyle choices can actually be extremely powerful and even more powerful than medications, especially for some chronic diseases like diabetes. In fact, in one study, they compared lifestyle choices to metformin, and lifestyle choices decrease the severity of the diabetes by over twice as much as metformin. So let's get started. First, let's do some basic understanding about diabetes. What is diabetes? Diabetes is a condition in which your blood sugar level is elevated a little bit more and higher than normal levels. And this happens because your body isn't able to use or produce insulin satisfactorily. Insulin is a hormone. It's like a key that unlocks cells to let glucose from the bloodstream, where it's deposited after it's digested from your food, into the cells so the cells can use it for energy and to carry out their cellular functions. So not only is the glucose not getting into the cells so the cells can carry out their function, but also the remaining glucose that's left in the bloodstream gets deposited in places where you don't really want it. It'll get deposited on your nerves, on the surface of your nerves, and cause problems there. It'll get deposited on your small blood vessels, inside the small blood vessels, like in your eyes, and also in your kidneys, which are like filters. So they have very, very small blood vessels. And also it'll get deposited in larger blood vessels, which over time can lead to problems like a stroke or a heart attack for some of those larger blood vessels. So it's really important to avoid these consequences of diabetes. Now, lifestyle medicine is organized into 6 areas, and they're written here, and I'm going to go through them all. There's evidence in each one of these areas for improving diabetes through lifestyle choices. So let's get started with the first one. The first one is diet and nutrition. So the first tip I'm going to give you in diet nutrition is to avoid highly processed or ultra processed foods. So that includes biscuits, crackers, cookies, snacks, fried foods of any kind. All of those things are things that you're going to want to avoid. You're going to want to choose whole foods, so things that are as minimally processed as possible. The next tip I'm going to give you is to choose complex carbohydrates over simple carbohydrates. Carbohydrates give you a great amount of fiber, which helps to regulate your blood sugar. However, the simple carbohydrates are going to be your more processed carbohydrates, and those are going to be very bad for you if you have diabetes. They will spike your blood sugar to a too high level, and so complex carbohydrates will give you the benefit of the fiber without doing that. So what that means is take brown rice over white rice, whole wheat over white wheat, and things like taro or sweet potato over white potato. The next step I'm going to give you is about portion control. So it's important to know that you do not have to fill yourself up till you're completely full with every meal. I know that sometimes that's how people feel satisfied, and if that's the case, that's okay, but make sure that your plate is portioned with a high amount of lower calorie dense foods. So a good rule of thumb is to have half of your plate with non-starchy vegetables. So that's like broccoli, cauliflower, peas, zucchini, squash, carrots, those kinds of non-starchy vegetables. And then a quarter of your plate is going to be with lean proteins. So things like beans, legumes, nuts, seeds. And then the other quarter of your plate, the last quarter of your plate, is going to be with whole grains, which we talked about. All right, and then last tip in diet and nutrition is to avoid all added sugar and sugary beverages. So for people with diabetes, any kind of added sugar or sugary beverage is like a poison, like a toxic substance, which brings me to the next area of lifestyle medicine. So those sugary substances you can eliminate completely. You do not need them for your nutritional values for any other reason. Those are things that will be toxic, and so you can quit them almost like if you were to quit tobacco products. You have no need for tobacco products in your life. You have no need for sugary substance in your life. You can also, another type of non-nutritive, calorie-dense item that you can quit is alcohol. If you do drink alcohol, that's something else that for people with diabetes could fall into this category of avoiding toxic substances. So that we covered these two, diet, nutrition, and avoiding toxic substances. Next, we'll move on to physical and cognitive activity. So in this particular area of lifestyle medicine, the recommendation for people with diabetes, and actually all adults, is to have at least 150 minutes per week of moderate exercise activity. So that means that you're huffing and puffing a little bit. You don't have to be completely out of breath, but it's more than just a gentle stroll. So that's the minimum. You can go even higher for maximum, for more benefit. That amounts to about 30 minutes per day for 5 days a week at minimum. And then another tip for people with diabetes especially is to increase your muscle mass. So add strength building into your routine at least twice per week. And what that does is it allows you to use insulin more efficiently. The last thing I'm going to tell you in physical activity is to cut out any sedentary time from your day. Sedentary time is one of the major killers, and some ways that you can do that are to use the stairs at any opportunity that you have. The second thing is to park as far away as you can from the grocery store doors or any office doors that you're going to. And the last tip here is, if you have a sedentary job, for instance, to set a timer on your phone. For every 20 minutes, you can get up for 20 seconds and just walk around or stand at the very least. Okay, so now moving on to emotional well-being. So chronic stress and chronic depression and things like chronic anxiety, what they do is they increase your cortisol levels, and cortisol is a steroid, which then increases your glucose levels. So increased glucose levels is essentially what diabetes is. It leads to the downstream effects of diabetes. So ways that you can decrease your stress levels are just to engage in any kind of relaxing activity that is relaxing for you. There are some formal ways to do this, including meditation, also breathing exercises, and then some exercises that are physical activity exercises, including things like yoga. So the next area is social connectedness and purpose. And along with emotional well-being, one of the things you might want to do is also engage the support of your family, friends, community support groups, wherever you go for your religion, and meet with them regularly and prioritize that in your life. It's very important to not be lonely. And unfortunately, we're very bad at recognizing when we are lonely as a species. So this is one of those things that you want to have a regular, weekly, at least kind of meeting with people of your peer group where you feel connected to them. And lastly, we'll talk about sleep. So sleep is deprioritized in our society, but in fact, we should be aiming for 7 to 9 hours of restorative quality sleep per night. And some ways that you could do that is to create a relaxing bedtime routine. Also, some tips are to avoid screens, blue screens, and also avoid alcohol for 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed every night. And so that completes the areas of lifestyle medicine. One more point I want to make is to make sure that you maintain your regular physicals, you go for your regular blood work, and just maintain your regular health as well. One area that falls into that is maintaining a healthy weight. So people that increase weight are at a higher risk of having diabetes and also other conditions like cardiovascular disease. Some things for, one thing to keep in mind is for people of South Asian descent and Eastern descent, we actually have a stricter cutoff for what's called our body mass index than people of Caucasian descent. So somebody who's 5'4" and who weighs 135 pounds, they would be at a normal weight for a Caucasian person, but for a South Asian person, that they would actually be in the category of increased risk for diabetes. And so that's something to keep in mind. So all of this to say that lifestyle choices can be extremely powerful, and they can actually manage diabetes. Sometimes in some cases you can actually reverse diabetes and definitely prevent diabetes if you haven't gotten it from occurring in the first place. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.